Suddenly, countless furry beastmen warriors charged in. However, Lin was unfazed. He ordered his skeleton warriors to attack the furry beastmen. The skeleton warriors rushed in and clashed with the furry beastmen. Lin then used the corpse explosion skill on the corpses of the furry beastmen his skeleton warriors killed, annihilating the army of beastmen that were charging at him. Inside the trial tower monitoring room, the examiners were shocked to see that Lin's points had suddenly increased by another 6,000 points. They couldn't believe that Lin had cheats on top of his summons and soul flame skill. They started questioning if his profession surpassed legendary professions. Back inside the campaign, the smell of death had gotten stronger, and Lin questioned if the second wave was about to start. The second wave began, and suddenly Lin had been surrounded by beastman archers and beastman warriors. The level and number of the monsters had increased drastically. It would be very difficult for those with a different profession to beat Wave 2 of the campaign, but Lin had nothing to worry about. Inside the trial monitoring room, the examiners were having a discussion. In the entire history of the Shangxia Empire, there had only been one student to get past Wave 3. However, it looked like Lin had a chance to be the second. The examiners believed that Lin had awakened his innate talent. This would be a blessing for mankind, and would mean that Lin could awaken another profession on his second awakening. At the waiting area, the leaderboard was updated. Lin was first with over 34,000 points, Xia was second with over 7,000 points, and Feng Ziyu was third with over 6,000 points. The other students were shocked. Lin was already dealing with the second wave while the others were still in the first. They wished they had the authority so they could send in boss monsters instead of giving him free points. At Xiajing, the capital city of the Shenzhia Empire, the true form of the Tower of Trials, one of the three great divine towers of the Shenzhia Empire, was suddenly attacked by a black beam. The tower was able to stop the beam and defeat the monster that attacked. However, before the monster died, it laughed, saying, "Kill me, I'm just a clone. However, those brats in the tower will die." Later, three hunters were observing the true form of the Tower of Trials. They didn't expect that the remnants of the abyss would attack them so openly, and it was clear that their aim was the students taking their exams. One of the hunters is afraid that the tower would be in chaos since the remnants of the abyss managed to enter the tower. However, he is told that there was nothing to fear since the tower draws its power from the abyss. Bai Yuan, the top hunter in the Shenzhia Empire, asked the other hunters how long it would take to restore the tower, and they replied saying it would take an hour. Inside the campaign, all of the monsters suddenly disappeared, confusing Lin, and while looking around, he gets noticed by Xia, who called out to him. She was confused. How was it possible for her to meet with the other examinees? The monsters that she was fighting had suddenly disappeared, and she asked Lin if he knew what was going on. Lin told her that he didn't know either, and suddenly Zihao and the other students appeared. A hologram of Bai Yuan appeared in the sky, and after greeting the students, he introduced himself. Continuing on, he explained that a demon of the abyss had infiltrated the campaign and was targeting them. He and the other hunters were doing their best to restore everything, but it could take up to an hour. So during that hour, he wanted the students to do their best to protect themselves. He didn't know how the monster from the abyss would attack them, but he believed that if they worked together, they could survive for an hour. The hologram of Bai Yuan disappeared, and Zihao instantly took charge, chanting, "We shall not be afraid to die while fighting." Lin, on the other hand, was thinking, the weakest monster from the abyss is at least level 70, and since Bai Yuan said they could win, that means the monster that infiltrated wasn't that strong. Inside the trial tower monitoring room, the examiners were panicking about what Bao Yuan had said. Ning Xuanfeng told the examiners not to panic and to believe in Bai Yuan. He also told them to relay Bai Yuan's message to the others outside. Back inside the campaign, the blood moon of the abyss appeared, signaling that the forces of the abyss are on the move. The students, following Zihao's orders, took a defensive formation as the forces of the abyss began to gather. The level cap in the campaign is level 19, and a level 19 beastman warrior that's been corrupted by the abyss appeared. The students felt relieved that they only had to fight one level 19 monster. However, more of the beastman warriors started to appear. Xia grabbed onto Lin's arm, asking him what they should do. There were a lot of monsters, so Lin knew it would be troublesome, but they should be able to deal with them. All the monsters are enhanced elite monsters that were on the same level as the enhanced monsters in the nightmare level dungeon Lin was soloing. Since the monsters were enhanced by the abyss, Lin was wondering if they would give him more experience. The army of beastmen approached the students slowly. The voice of the abyss monster spoke, mocking what Bai Yuan had told the students earlier. Zihao and the other students trembled in fear. He knew that they couldn't win against the monsters, and he was unable to exert his strength due to the monster's aura. Lin started walking towards the army of beastmen as his skeleton warriors followed. Xia called out to him, asking why he was approaching the monsters. Lin turned back, telling her to take a step back, but she refused and followed closely behind him. Lin decided to ignore her since she wouldn't be able to get in his way and continued approaching the monsters. The other students decided it would be best if they followed closely behind Lin as well. As Lin approached, the voice of the abyss monster spoke, praising Lin for having the guts to step up to try and fight the beastmen. It asked Lin if he would abandon the students and join him in the abyss. Lin remained silent. In his head, he calculated that the distance between him and the monsters was 50 meters, which is the best distance to use his corpse explosion skill. Lin stopped approaching the beastman and summoned all 100 skeleton warriors from the summon space and ordered them to attack. The skeleton warriors rushed in and used the rage shot skill on the beastman. However, much to Lin's surprise, the beastman didn't die. It seemed like the corrupted beastman had 3,000 points in strength and 3,500 into health. Lin smiled because the more health the monsters had, the more effective his corpse explosion skill would be. His skeleton warriors were finally able to kill one beastman warrior, and Lin got 8,000 experience. This made Lin happy, and even though there wasn't much experience, it would add up because of the amount of monsters. Lin activated the corpse explosion skill, wiping out all of the beastmen. The other students couldn't believe it. Lin had just wiped out an army of level 19 monsters just like that. Zihao fell to his knees. He couldn't understand why Lin was so powerful and why he wasn't the one that awakened the necromancer profession. The abyss monster was outraged, and it retracted its offer of having Lin join him in the abyss. Now it wanted to devour Lin. It summoned more beastman warriors to attack the students. Lin was able to locate the abyss monster's location, and he ordered his skeleton warriors to protect the students from the new monsters that had spawned. Afterwards, he picked up a beastman's corpse and threw it at the abyss monster and used corpse explosion. The abyss monster wasn't dead yet, so he used the soul flame skill. The abyss monster couldn't believe it. His soul was being burnt through. But there is no way a profession like should exist. Back outside at the Tower of Trial's true form, Bai Yuan and 2 other hunters suddenly felt that the power and influence of the abyss monster was weakening tremendously. Bai Yuan was filled with rage. He released his spiritual energy and asked if everyone in the tower was dead. One of the hunters informed him that he could still sense human auras inside the tower, and it seemed like the abyss monster had been injured. Bai Yuan stopped releasing his spiritual energy. He was glad that the students were safe. But the abyss monster was using the power of the abyss, so how would level 15 and 16 students be able to injure it? Inside the Tower of Trials, the abyss monster was enraged and it buffed the stats of the beastman warriors. Lin was in shock. His corpse explosion skill had leveled up, and the radius had increased to 20 meters, and the damage was now equal to 150% of the enemy's HP. He questioned if the corpse explosion skill is the only skill that would level up the more he used it, or if all skills learned through his skill scroll would level up this way. Lin leveled up as well, and with the level 2 corpse explosion skill, it was time to end the abyss monster. The other students couldn't believe it. Lin was getting stronger even in their current situation, while the only thing they could do was be thankful that he was on their side. Lin ordered his skeleton warriors to throw the corpses of the beastman into the sky, and after the corpses reached the monster, he used the skill corpse explosion, destroying the abyss monster. The sky slowly began to go back to normal. The students looked up to the sky, questioning if they had survived the abyss monster's attack. Outside at the Tower of Trial's true form, the Grandpa Hunter told Bai Yuan that the presence of the abyss monster had disappeared, and the tower was in the process of recovering. Bai Yuan nervously asked the Grandpa Hunter how the kids were doing, and the Grandpa Hunter explained that the students were fine and there wasn't a single casualty. Bai Yuan was stunned. This was totally different from what they were expecting to happen, and he wondered what had happened inside the tower. He asked the Grandpa Hunter to teleport the students out of the campaign mode so they could investigate what had happened. Inside the campaign, Zia approached Lin asking him if he was okay. Lin answered saying he was fine. Suddenly, a hologram of Bia Yuan appeared in the sky again, explaining to the students that the power of the abyss monster had disappeared and that they would be teleported to the original examination site. Afterwards, the results would be announced. After the students were teleported to the original examination site, the voice of the tower spoke, asking the students to wait for the results to be posted. Inside the tower trial monitoring room, Ning Chu and Feng was deep in thought. The main combat exams results consisted of scores and evaluation. Being admitted to the top schools isn't just about having a high score. The student's evaluation score must also be outstanding, and he couldn't wait to see what Lin's evaluation scores would be. Inside the campaign, Bai Yuan and some other hunters were reviewing what had happened when the abyss monster attacked. Lin's necromancer abilities were on full display. His strength was ridiculous, and besides being ridiculously strong, he was also decisive. He already had the makings of a top-tier hunter. Some of the hunters present believed that it would be hard to evaluate the candidates this year. However, others disagreed. Those students that ran away from the battle would receive a low score for being cowards. They couldn't decide, so they gave Lin an excellent score and continued discussing what to do about the other students. At the waiting area, the results were finally posted. Principal Lu rejoiced, saying Lin did it. He received the #1 score. The other principals congratulated Principal Lu, and at the original examination site, Zia congratulated Lin for receiving the top score. Lin smiled and thanked her. Zia was surprised. She didn't know that Lin could smile, and his smile looked nice, so she asked him why he didn't smile more often. In the leaderboards, Lin was first, Zia was second with an evaluation score of 7,600. Feng Ziyu was third with an evaluation score of 6,700. Xiaomei was fourth with over 6,300 points. Zihao was fifth, but his evaluation score was poor, and with a poor evaluation score, no academy in the top 20 would accept him. Zihao was enraged, and he complained about being rated as poor. The examiners decided to expel him for violating the exam rules. Then they announced that for the combat profession, this year's top student was Lin. Gao cheered loudly in the middle of a crowd, saying, "Do you see that? My friend is the top student in the entire province." The examiners asked Gao to be quiet and announced that Lin wasn't just the top student in the province, but he was the top student in the entire country. Principal Lu was beyond happy, and he could hear angels singing praise. This was something he could brag about for the rest of his life. The other students from Lin's school were also taking pride in the fact that a student from their school was now the top student of the whole country. Xiaomei and Feng Ziyu approached Lin, congratulating him and thanking him for saving them in the campaign. They asked him if he was trying to get into Jiajing Academy. Lin told them that he was, and they asked to meet up after he entered Jiajing Academy. Lin replied okay, and Zia apologized to Xiaomei and Feng Ziyu, explaining that Lin doesn't like to talk much. Lin asked her what she was talking about, when he had been talking a lot the whole day. Later that night at Lin's house, Lin grabbed a picture of him, his grandma, and his sister, and told his grandma that he had become the #1 student in the country. He heard knocking on the door and got up to get it. It was Principal Lu, and he was joined by a hunter. The hunter that was with Principal Lu started emitting killing intent, so Lin summoned a skeleton warrior from the summon space. Bai Yuan was impressed that Lin reacted even though he was stronger than him. He stopped emitting his killing intent, and Lin could finally see that it was Bai Yuan. He lowered his head and greeted the #1 hunter. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, then hit the like button.